You're on the second best channel about audio engineering according to FeedSpot in 2019 and 2020. Absolutely every traditional approaches have disadvantages, like EQing, compression, dynamic equalization, sidechaining, automation, coloration, overdrive, reverb. I will be showing you all those disadvantages about those traditional approaches and how you can fix those problems with this new amazing AZ Independence technique. I believe this video will be really mind-blowing. The videos on this channel just light entertaining addition to one of the most serious audio production courses. It's 9 months in Skype. You can check real class for free with my current students, and among them we have guys who graduated from the best universities and colleges in the world, and they believe my course is better. Their opinions right now you can see on the screen. You will be attending this class exactly with these guys. This course even have homework checking classes where I take your real projects and we compare them side by side with the best sounding mixes of all time, and I show you what's wrong with your mixes, how to make it better. It has monthly payments, so it's really easy to make them. So you're welcome to get a free trial class. How to contact me information is on the screen. You imagine the transient and the sustain of any instrument like two totally independent instruments. What's really new about this technique and concept is 3 different nuances, which make it totally different. During the whole video I'm gonna show you so different examples. One of the coolest things will be not in the beginning of this video. For example, we have this project. So the very first track which you see on the screen is our full kick sample in this song. Ask yourself how most people consider some instrument, like let's say like this kick. A lot of people for some reason believe they hear some specific frequency balance of some instruments. In reality, different parts of the same note or of the same chord may have totally different frequency balance. The transient is like the beginning of a note, like initial part, and then you have sustain, which is like the tail of the note. Frequency balance of this initial part in the very beginning of a note can be totally different. It can be much brighter or much darker or whatever, you know, and the tail, which is this green area, may have totally different frequency balance. Most people would examine frequency balance of this kick like this, right? In reality, it's totally not like that. If I'm gonna separate right now this kick in 2 little pieces, I will start with the explanation of what transient and sustain is, and then I'm gonna show you amazing examples. Check it out. I just took the same kick sample and I just put it on 2 different channels over here. Channel number 1 is like transient of this kick. The third track is just the tail, like sustain of this kick. If now I make a print screen or frequency balance of each of those parts, the transient looks like this, and then I do the same with the tail. You clearly can see that these 2 pieces of this kick have totally different frequency content. Green one, it was the transient, it was the beginning of this kick. This thing has more mid-range concentrated signal, it has a lot of frequencies around like 500, 300, 1K, 2K, it's more like this kind of a punch. When you examine the gray color, this is the sustain of the kick, much more bottom end, it has fundamental tone of a kick, around 50 Hz, it has much more scooped mids, but at the same time it has a lot of kind of a noise. In different samples it can be totally different. Some samples may have this noise, some samples may not have this noise. The same happens with other instruments, let's say with the guitars. Together they sound like normal chord. Now is the transient, now is the sustain. If you really compare that, like perceived volume balance of that and that, a gray color, which is the sustain of this guitar, has much less high frequency information, around like 5K, and level of the whole high end, high frequencies, much less pronounced in the sustain part. How you can say that this guitar sounds like in one way? Actually, this guitar sounds in one way in the very beginning of a chord, and sounds differently in the end of a chord. Now we came back to the kick. As you remember, we have a bit noisier tail and a bit fatter tail in the kick. And the same, my first track, which is where I didn't split the kick, is just original sample, looks like this. Exactly the same sound. Very commonly with kicks, they don't cut through the mix in a busy mix just because of a lot of instruments in upper mid-range. You just simply don't hear this high frequency, upper mid-range frequency snap of the kick, you know. To fix it, you use the most traditional approach, you use equalizer, and you boost something in upper mid-range. And you make this kick more punchy. But didn't you notice that before I applied this equalizer, kick sounded actually clearer? It didn't have noise, it was more or less kind of smooth and like pleasant. When I boosted this 3K, of course kick sounds more snappier in the beginning, but in the end it sounds actually noisier because the tail actually of this kick had some high frequency noise. You improve the snap, but unfortunately you increase the noise. You know in advance that boosting this upper mid-range on the tail may increase noise. And you just simply don't apply this boost on the sustain. You boost this 3K only on the transient. Check it out. I apply exactly the same equalizer as you can see on the transient just over here. But I don't touch the tail, so the second channel just has a snap, and the third channel has just the sustain, and I don't touch the third channel at all with any equalizer. I make it more punchy just on the transient. Now check it out how cool it is. Punchy and no noise. Original traditional technique, just the kick itself, with overall boost in upper mid-range. Listen to the noise. Much clearer, much smoother, more density in the tail, less noise. It will be much clearer in the mix, but the same punchy snap in the beginning of a kick. This one is the simplest example of AZ independence approach. Now we're gonna go a bit deeper. Now it's a piano, we have high notes, we have mid notes, we have low notes. So this piano sounds muddy. As you can see what I do over here, I found muddy frequency range is around 200. So piano sounds like this, it sounds much more transparent after this EQ. I want to make it like really hard piano, you know, like more metallic, like ringing. First channel, which is original piano, no separation, transparent in the tail, and like thinner, because hammers which are put on the string, they are processed as well by this cut in mid-frequency, so this hammer noise became like thinner, smaller, and this chord sound like a bit thin. Very transparent in the tail, but annoying and thin in the beginning. I separated this piano in two halves, this one and this one, right, with these volume crossovers. It's just like exchanging volume of the transient to the sustain, like smooth movements, like, you know, where it becomes just a bit quieter, this one a bit louder, this one a bit quieter, this one a bit louder. Without processing, there is no difference at all between these two sounds. So first channel sounds like, these two channels sounds like 100% the same sound. And then I process only this sustain. Notice how thin and harsh the starting point of those two chords with the regular EQing. It sounds warmer, the hammer noise sounds like rounder. Right? Is the simplest level of AZ independence technique, level A. Now I will show you the example related to the dynamics and compressors. For example, we have this part. It's an Ice Cube song which I produced and mixed, check it out.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of town party crackin'. Hold me back in, so we can smoke a dub, down to bump all these freaks at the club.
In this case we have kick, which sounds kind of like double kick, you know, like kick kick, kick kick. It sounds relatively punchy but sterile. I want more density and I want some coloration for it.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here.
With this level of the kick it sounds a bit like too fat and too boomy. I have to make this kick quieter and it will be just a bit kind of lost in the mix because of that. On my course we learn stuff, for example, why 2:1 ratio on a compressor gives you more thickness and density than, let's say, 4:1. And also students of my course, for example, know if I apply compressors with fast attack, especially like SSL channel compressors or something like that, they bring more high harmonics than, let's say, slow attack compressor. A lot of people actually don't know this. My idea is to apply 2:1 SSL channel compressor on this particular kick to get more coloration, to make it like brighter and tighter and more noticeable in the mix because of these extra harmonics. Secondly, I want to make it thicker. That's why I would prefer to use low ratio. So this is what I do. I use the shortest release possible, 100 milliseconds. I use fast attack to get more coloration. Some people never consider coloration when you apply compression, but actually compressor always brings harmonics content to your signal. That's why I decided to compress a lot. It doesn't sound punchy anymore. The compressor basically kills this kick.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of town party crack.
Sometimes, especially the second kick is lost. You know, it's called residual compressor. As you understand, it's totally the same sample, like kick and absolutely the same copy. Next kick goes very quickly because they sound very close to each other, like kick, 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 kick. The shortest release on this compressor is 100 milliseconds. Even if this compressor was capable to make like 10 milliseconds release, it will not be enough to stop the compressor before the next punch, because I create a lot of compression. I really want to squash it to get extra saturation. It's like gain reduction. It's a fast attack, almost instant dive into like minus 10 decibels level, and then it starts to go up. Suddenly next kick happens. It means that this particular transient of the second kick also will be under pressure of this compressor, so compressor didn't stop working when the next kick happens, and when it's going up, some amount of compression will be applied even on the beginning of the next kick. And that's why the punch, this initial like snap transient of the kick, will be squashed by the compressor. And that's why instead of like kick kick, I hear more like kick ick.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here.
Of course, I could avoid these problems. I should use slow attack and all that stuff, but I didn't want to use slow attack. I wanted fast attack for extra harmonics, for extra kind of push. You know, kick loses its punch and clarity. It's the disadvantage of using fast attack. Andrew Zeleno Independence Technique allows you to apply this 2-to-1 thickening effect just on the tail if you apply it just on the sustain. Plus, I can compress it with any amount of compression, and I don't need to worry about residual compression because I simply avoid applying compression on the transient of the kicks. Open and punchy snaps of the kicks will be untouched. So instead of this kick, as you can see, we have these two kicks, transient and the tail over here. This is the transient, this is the sustain. I copy and paste the same compressor. This one, they untouched totally, and I process only sustain. So it was like
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here.
Kick doesn't sound so strong and clear and like very defined.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of.
It sounds like instead of t, it sounds you know. It doesn't have that snap. And now check it out.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of town party.
Rock solid punch, you know, t all the time.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of town party crack.
Before.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of town party.
It still can be not too bad, you know, but it sounds too smooth, to be honest. If I really want that kind of rock solid punch, I just go like this.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of town party.
How cool is that? It's still level A. Read it over here. Level A. Independent processing for the transient or the sustain. When you attend this course, you will be so experts in all those little nuances and disadvantages, understanding all possible situations, approaches, pros and cons, that you're gonna be creating your own millions of different techniques for this particular concept. Do you want level B? Okay. Level B means you process the transient somehow totally different than the sustain for some particular reason. You should have specific reason to do it. For example, now if you want more snap on the kick, you just simply can make it louder. For example, you make it like this.
Brainiac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of.
So your kick becomes like so snappy because of that. Some people apply plugins like Transient Shaper to make more transient, right? The problem is those plugins bring some artifacts. This one doesn't bring any artifacts. You just take the amplitude of the waveform and you just simply make it louder. Because if you made it louder, you're gonna push your master bass compressor more if you have one. If you apply master bass compressor, right now you feed it with a more pushed volume, and master bass compressor may overcompress your mix because of that increased volume of the transient pushing that master bass compressor too much. That's why instead of making it louder, you can actually apply some saturation, some plugin which puts additional harmonics to your transient, and your transient occupies more different frequencies where other instruments still don't have maybe frequencies. The transient can be like this. Imagine around the same frequencies you have, let's say, vocal, bass, other synthesizer, guitars. They are red color and your mix already have some those frequencies occupied by the other instruments. For example, it's over here, over here, over here, and over here. You apply some saturation to your kick snap, again AZ independence. You apply coloration not for the full kick, you apply it only for the snap, for the transient. Initial piece of your kick will be saturated, for example, in frequencies, let's say over here, and over here. So in this particular place, it cuts through the mix because other instruments, which are red color on this picture, they haven't occupied this particular frequency, and your overtone extra new harmonics on your snap actually will be cutting through. So you don't need to push volume of your transient, but you actually make it more pronounced in a mix. Eventually, your sustain of the kick processed for thickness and extra like warmth, and your transient will be processed with totally different type of saturation to put, let's say, more like upper mid-range type of harmonics to make it cut through. I actually plan to show you like 14 examples. Right now I just realized I can do like maximum 4 or 5 in this video. I definitely gonna make more videos about this concept. Another cool example, it will be just mind-blowing for people who play guitars or for guys who like synthesizer music production, where you're really big fan of saturation and overdrive when you apply some like extra. We have this clean guitar which sounds like this, and I overdrive it with a pedal to get more extra overdrive. The problem is when I listen to this guitar without overdrive, it sounds much more articulated. I hear this kind of an initial part of a note, and based on my experience in mixing, I totally realized that lack of transient and lack of definition in the beginning in a busy mix with many instruments will make your guitar, instead of sounding like ta 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 ta, some mute notes over there, ta ta ta, it will be sounding just like and you will not realize what really your guitar plays. So you want articulation. Overdrive usually have two things which it does to your sound in many cases. Of course, depends on type of overdrive, but usually it puts a lot of extra harmonics to your sound. At the same time, it usually compresses your transients, because overdrive is essentially compression. Let's say your chord looks like this. Then you have some specific level, and when you come to this level, your picks become higher than this level, and they become more compressed. They just go down in volume, then they will be smoothed out. This is how you lose clarity, but you get more overdrive. This is how you lose articulation. This overdrive sounds good in tone, but it doesn't sound good in articulation. AZ Independence Technique. I split this guitar in two halves, as you can see, these two channels, this and this. This one is initial transient, and the tail of these notes, and I apply exactly the same overdrive pedal on both, but what I do, I decrease amount of overdrive on that initial transients on this one. So I don't allow the transients to be that overdriven. I just minimize amount of gain, but I apply the same needed amount of gain like on the very first channel, on the third channel, on the tail. Now let's compare how better it sounds actually in AZ Independence way. So this one sounds just like regular overdrive, like absolutely every guitarist in the world would apply it, just some overdrive pedal. Articulation, but the same tone. In solo it's okay, I mean, maybe I would even prefer that smoother sound because it sounds a bit pleasant, but in the mix you will not hear this articulation. and it's defined by the same overdriven. How cool is that? It's level B, it means they are processed differently. Another just phenomenal way how you can apply Andrew Zeleno Independence Technique is to fix issues with your dynamic equalizers. It's so huge concept, we cannot do it just in one video. Don't forget to check my course. It's for free, one free trial class with real students. You may find this course like really game changer for you. How to contact me, information is on the screen.